Hello there, I'm the Abyssal Drink, and I am doing a Kassadin Rune video as per a request from someone on my Kassadin video, which I just want to say thank you for getting that to 1k views and still climbing. That is absolutely insane. I didn't think it would be the Kassadin video of all videos to get that high. That's awesome. But I'm going to go over kind of the way that I think about Kassadin and his runes. There are 3 rune trees that generally Kassadins will go, be it sorcery, domination, or precision. And I'm going to go over them in the way that I think is least important to the most important. And then there is one more rune page, a resolve rune, that I decided to take, and I'm going to discuss that at the very end and explain kind of my reasoning behind the why. So the way that I play Kassadin is very much a very respectful, reserved type of playstyle. I'm not the type of, like, I think Kassadin has to be a passive laner. Like, you have no kill pressure unless the enemy is just bum rushing you under your tower. More often than not, you're going to be just doing your best to keep up and farm, but you're going to be playing respectful so that you're not getting poked down, not getting all in, and instead you're looking more towards getting to your late game so that you can start taking over. But with the way that the season is now, it's not the easiest to get to that point. In fact, Kassadin is basically indirectly nerfed with the way that the items are at the very moment. He has less HP and less mana when it comes to his options. So let's just go over the rune page that I think is the least important, that I never take myself, and that is domination. Now, I sometimes see Kassadins take Electrocute, and Electrocute, you know, it's burst damage 30 to 180 damage plus an additional 0.25 AP because you're not. It's also 0.4 bonus AD, but you're not building any AD, so that's kind of pointless. Electrocute, I feel, can work, but it's not the type of rune that, you know, really fits what Kassadin is. Electrocute is very much so, you know, just straight assassin. Kassadin is more of a battle mage with assassin-like qualities. He's very much like, kind of, for the most part, once I go in, I don't really come out and I keep fighting. And Electrocute doesn't really support that style. It's you go in, you blow up one target, and then you get out, you leave. You've contributed to the fight. Hopefully you don't die. And then it's the 25 to 20 second cooldown, which that's great in a team. That's great in a 1v1, but in a team fight, you're proccing it again one time. I don't feel it's very useful. So if they took Electrocute, they'd have to then, you know, pick the 3 runes from there. First you have Cheap Shot, Taste of Blood, and Sudden Impact. Cheap Shot you can trigger off of your E, but it's kind of a meh. You can get it by doing your E and then Q, but normally you're gonna Q and then E. Normally, since your Q is point and click, and you can kind of get them to both go off at the same time. There's not really too much of a delay in between that, so and you're not really gonna get all that much out of it early on into the game. It's pretty much an early game type of rune for that extra bit of damage, because yeah, 45 bonus true damage is nice, but, you know, at max level is not bringing home the bacon. It's just so inconsequential. And then yeah, it's a 4-second cooldown, but it just, you know, it just doesn't feel worth it. Taste of Blood you can take. I feel like it would be a good rune. The healing is kind of nice, but again, it's one of those 20-second cooldown type of things, and it's kind of like, you know, it just doesn't seem like it'll feel that good. Like, yeah, you can trigger it, you know, just you Q them and you get a little bit of HP back, but I don't know, it doesn't feel like the end all be all. Then there's Sudden Impact, which if you're going to take any rune, you would take Sudden Impact, because that's an additional 6 magic penetration, which is always helpful. And early game, once you hit 6, every time you ult, you just have it, because it's a 4-second cooldown and it lasts for 5 seconds. So like, why not? If you're going to go anything, go Sudden Impact. Then from there, you have your Zombie Ward, Ghost Poro, and Eyeball Collection. That's kind of whichever one you would most prefer. If you're going to go around de-warding a lot for some reason, Zombie Ward. If you're just going to place a lot of wards, Ghost Poro. And if you're just trying to get kills for some reason, Eyeball Collection. Yeah, I said some reason. Again, we're Kassadin, it's more like you don't want to be, like, you don't want to just be running out for kills all the time. You really do have to be playing safe, playing respectful. Unless you're absolutely confident in your damage, there's just no point in chasing after a kill, just ever. Then from there, you have all the Hunter runes. Ultimate Hunter, you never take. Your ultimate cooldown goes like to 2 seconds. You literally don't need that. You just don't need Ultimate Hunter at all. Relentless Hunter, if you feel like you're going to be roaming around a lot, that's something you could definitely take. I don't really roam too often as Kassadin, and I find you can just kind of ult all over the place, and if you take TP, you don't need Relentless Hunter all that much. Ingenious Hunter can definitely work. I think that the main mythic that I would just always take on Kassadin is Everfrost, so you could reduce that cooldown. And you could even reduce Zanya cooldown too, but, you know, it's kind of a maybe not. Then there's Ravenous Hunter for the Omnivamp, but the Omnivamp is only 33% effective when dealing AoE, so it's barely going to do anything for you. When you ult and E, you're mainly going to get the healing through the Q and your W, unless you're hitting like 5 people, 3 to 5 people with your ult. That Omnivamp is just not all that great. I mean, you can still take it, but just the big source of damage is coming from pretty much your ultimate and your E. Those hit really hard. So Domination, I just don't take. Then there's Sorcery. I used to take Sorcery kind of all the time as my main rune, but it just never felt like a main rune type of thing. And what I would go is Arcane Comet. The damage is okay, but I just felt like I could be doing more, you know, like it just wasn't fully getting me what I wanted. And then Summon Airy, just why ever take that, just why. And then there's Phase Rush. I've seen some Kassadins take Phase Rush, not very often. Like, your ultimate, you're always jumping on them anyway, and your E is a slow. There's kind of just no reason for Phase Rush, just at all. Like, the movement speed, you're not going to utilize it early, because if someone's already on top of you, they are on top of you. And if you are jumping onto somebody, everything that you do is just in one short window, and if you're jumping onto them, you're not going to jump onto them while they have their abilities ready to attack you. You're being smart about it. You're waiting for them to just waste their abilities. That way you can jump on them with impunity. So you don't really need that Phase Rush to speed away. But the smaller runes are definitely worth taking a look at. Nullifying Orb, you can take it. But you're already Kassadin, and you already have a magic damage shield. And you already have that innate magic resistance. I mean, it's a little bit more magic resistance. Well, not magic resistance, but magic absorption. But you don't really need it. Especially when you compare it to Manaflow Band, which there are only 3 real sources of mana that you would take as Kassadin. Seraphs, the 3 mana mythics, and then Manaflow. Unless you wanted to, for some reason, go a Frozen Heart, then you can do that too. But really, you're not going to. So Manaflow Band, you know, it's additional 250 mana. And then once you have that fully stacked, it's 1% of your missing mana every 5 seconds. It's really not that bad. It's pretty good. And then Nimbus Cloak, you don't really need it. Your ultimate, you can just jump on people so easily with your ultimate. you're not really worried. Like, with your ultimate at rank 3, you can outrun Udyr. Like, you really don't need Nimbus Cloak at all. Not too many situations where it would come in handy, since normally on Kassadin I take like TP or Flash. Then Absolute Focus just would never take that, just ever. Like, maybe if you're getting the drop on somebody, yeah, it'll be good, but for the most part I feel like I'm never in a position where I'm trying to kill someone while above 70% HP. I normally just feel like I'm just going to drop below that anyway, so why even bother taking it? Celerity, again, it's movement speed, not really necessary. And Transcendence, Kassadin's cooldowns are already super low. Again, his ultimate is a 2-second cooldown at, rank 3. His Q is like a 5-second cooldown. His W, his E, they're just all super low cooldowns. Since his Q and W are single target, his W is an auto attack reset. Those are generally super low cooldowns, and his E requires you to be around people casting their spells for it to be fully activated. So it makes sense that it has a low cooldown since it has that activation requirement. So you really don't need that ability haste. I mean, if you want to take it to have like a 3-second cooldown on your Q, go ahead. But it just doesn't really work for me, in my mind. Scorch is an early game rune. If you're like, Scorch is like for poke mages and whatnot. You're not a poke mage. You aren't playing for early. So Scorch, I just don't feel necessary. Waterwalking, if you, again, were like wanting to roam around, you were expecting to fight a lot in the river, you can take it, but I don't think it's like the absolute type of thing that you take. Gathering Storm just fits the build perfectly. You're, again, playing it safe. You're playing it slowly. If you can get kills, that's great and all, but you're waiting pretty much for that level 16 spike with your ultimate, and that's going to come sometime between 30 and 40 minutes if you're playing at a good pace. So that additional 48 to 80 AP, and then the longer the game goes on, you just become more and more of a monster because of Gathering Storm. Like, it just fits the bill. But again, I don't fully take sorcery anymore. I did take it as a secondary, and did is the key word there. What I would take is Manaflow Band and Gathering Storm for obvious reasons. But now what I mainly do is the Precision Tree, and I have Resolve for my secondary. I go Precision for Conqueror, Presence of Mind, Legend Tenacity, and Last Stand. I think an argument can be made for Fleet Footwork, like if you really want that heal, but again, I think that's like kind of an early game type of thing for that survival's sake. I think you can play safe enough and not have to worry about Fleet Footwork, but I think Conqueror is just really good. Conqueror, once it's at that, 5 adaptive force per stack up to 12 stacks, that's 60 AP. That's almost an entire item's worth of AP. And then, on top of that, you get 9% healing on the damage you deal to champions. 9%. That's not like Ravenous Hunter where there's a reduced to 33% effectiveness for your AoE. No, it's just 9% straight up the entire time. So your ultimate dealing like 1,000 damage in late game, fully stacked, that's going to be 90 healing on that. Which, doesn't seem like much, but that's 90 healing in addition to the healing you get from your Q, your W, and your E, and that's only on one target. You hit multiple targets, and that's a fair amount of healing. And, I feel like Kassadin, he's a battle mage. He's going to be fighting for as long as he possibly can. So Conqueror just helps out with that. Then Presence of Mind. Since Ceres no longer gives mana refund, you just kind of need Presence of Mind. It's just required. You can't not have Presence of Mind. You cast your ultimate 3 times once it's maxed out, and you're pretty much oob. Like, yeah, your W will give you back some mana, but it's just not enough to warrant not taking Presence of Mind. That 15% mana restoration is just way too good to pass up. Triumph, no. Overheal, no. Presence of mind, yes. Then with the Legend Runes, Bloodline, that's lifesteal. You don't lifesteal. And the Alacrity attack speed, you're not really auto-attacking a lot. You jump in, you press everything on their face, and if they're not dead, you jump again. You're probably not auto-attacking very much to really get the benefit out of the attack speed. And your W is an auto-reset, so it will just attack. It's going to attack very fast in the first place, so you really don't need the attack speed. But Tenacity, on the other hand, that's 30% Tenacity when it's fully stacked. That's a Merc Treads. That is a full-on Merc Treads. And again, it's a scaling type of rune. So, like, it just works. It's already just going to be, like, really good for you to have. And even if the enemy team doesn't have all that much in the way of CC, like, the other options just, aren't good enough to compare. So, yeah, I just take Legend Tenacity. And then, Coup de Grace is, I think you already just deal, like, so much damage that Coup de Grace is kind of overkill. Like, unnecessary amounts of overkill. Just not really needed. And, like, Coup de Grace early game can be helpful. But, again, I don't play for early game. Then Cut Down. With Kassadin, I'm trying to build as much HP as possible without sacrificing my build, and you're not going to have less HP than a carry. You really just aren't at all, so there's like no point in taking it. Last Stand, on the other hand, I find myself super low pretty much all the time, so that up to 11% increased damage, which is more than the 8% Coup de Grace offers, is just pretty good. So then the Resolve Tree, which I take as my secondary, I find is just kind of what is needed for Kassadin now. Because with the removal of Rod of Ages, Kassadin no longer has that easy to obtain 600 HP. Now Kassadin needs to buy like 3 items to be able to obtain the same amount of HP that he would be able to get from just a single Rod of Ages. And those 3 items aren't going to give you, just that outright amount of power that you need to really be able to fight with your team. Yeah, that'll help you survive, but, you're still taking time to get that HP, and you're delaying your damage even more. So it's taking even more time for you to scale. So if you really want damage, you're going to delay getting those HP items instead. How do I remedy this? If I go Resolve, I can take Overgrowth, and you can get like an entire item's worth of HP, 200 HP, the same amount as Everfrost, and that's really, really good. And it's a scaling rune. Again, scaling is just really good. And then alongside that, I take Bone Plating. That way I can survive the early game. Like, yeah, second win would be nice, but when dealing with champions that are just going to burst you rather than poke you, Bone Plating is just much more preferred. Reducing 30 to 60 damage on the 3 attacks or spells that hit you, like, that is just way too good. Like, how do you pass that up? You really can't. So that's generally what I'm taking on Kassadin. And then for the mini runes, I just go adaptive and either 2 armor or 2 magic resistance. I think you could probably go the attack speed to help you last hit a little bit more, but I don't fully think it's necessary. And the haste, again, not necessary at all. Like, you could go double adaptive if you are absolutely not afraid of getting your butthole ripped apart by the biggest dildo in the world. Why not? And, you could go the HP, even though you have, like, what is it, 16? Like, you have, like, 19 base armor? 19 base armor at level 1? Yeah, I'd rather just take double armor runes if I'm against an AD assassin or double magic resistance to just better ignore mages in the lane. And that's pretty much how my runes go. It's Conqueror, Presence of Mind, Legend Tenacity, Last Stand, with Bone Plating, Overgrowth, or it could go Second Wind, just depending on if I'm against someone that's bursty or someone that's just a poke mage. Well, bursty or poke, depending on which one. And then always take the 1 adaptive force and then 2 armor or 2 matter resistance. That's just how I personally think about Kassadin's Runes. I am in no way, shape, or form an authority figure on this. If I haven't said that already, I don't remember. I tend to forget what I'm talking about. And I am definitely not an amazing player. I have my moments, but I fuck up just as much as anybody else. So if you found this to be, you know, enlightening in some way, shape, or form, cool, awesome. I'm glad that you think that. I swear I'm not trying to fill time. I swear I'm not trying to fill time. I'm not really good at this type of thing. I can explain things, I'm just not very good. If you're actually listening to me right now, thank you for watching all the way through. I hope this helps in some way, shape, or form. You know, if there are other champions that I'd be much better at talking about rather than Kassadin, and I'm just going off the top of my head with all this. I am looking at the runes and their actual numbers, but I am not the theory crafter type of person when it comes to League of Legends. I just kind of play the game and that's it. I have marginal successes. Anyway, I'm rambling again. I do want to say quickly though, if I haven't said it, because what am I talking about again? Oh, right. I do want to say, if you're watching this and you also watched the Kassadin video, thank you for helping it get to 1,000 views in a matter of 3 days. Out of all my videos, I did not think it would be a fucking Kassadin video that would get me to 1,000 views in a matter of days. Like, that is absolutely insane. I did not see it happening. I just came home from work and I was like, holy shit, it actually hit 1K. That is absolutely mind-blowing. And I hope it's not just a one-off. I hope that, you know, even if it's not being watched all the way through by every single person, I'm still glad that it got there to that point, and I hope more of my videos get to that point. And also, you know what? Yeah, that I'm just gonna end the video now. Just thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in another video. Bye.